What's up, government seekers? Hello. We've been, let me adjust this light a little bit. We took last week off. I hope everybody's been enjoying it. I haven't done a live stream this week because I'm just getting over it. A little bit of a gnarly stomach flu thing. So just kind of settling into that. That was interesting. That was great. I lost a bunch of weight. So stomach virus is my excuse for becoming a meth head. Anyway, we have a fantastic show for you today. Thank you, everybody in the chat. We've got Holly Horn and Blaze Saver Wolf as our moderators. Good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. Everyone is here. Like, share, subscribe. All that stuff helps. Thank you for everybody watching on Lee's YouTube and on my YouTube. And of course, everybody watching over on the Rock Fed. And sharing this out on your social media is a very wonderful thing. So let's get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Government Secrets with the two most censored comedians in America, Lee Camp and Graham Elwood.
Hey, man.
What's up, buddy?
At a new time, as always.
Yeah, we got to keep the NSA on their heels. We don't want them to figure out.
I would like to say we are reliably at a new time every week. I feel like that is what we do for our fans.
I think the longest we've gone is maybe 8 weeks at the same time, I want to say.
And I'll also say that I think 100% of those problems have been due to me. Which is funny because for the first 2 months, you were the one who was always late, but I've been the one who always changes the time.
Yes. Yep. I'm always late and you're always changing the time, and it's fantastic.
But I will also say that I too, on the other side of the country, had a stomach flu this week. So maybe it was just a stomach flu nation this week or something.
I wouldn't put it past like YouTube to make sure we both get a stomach flu or something like that. Just another way to stifle us. I wouldn't be. They're like, these two vegetarians, let's put something in their food. So yeah. But can we say that this is our new time locked in stone?
I would like to say yes, but that means we'll change it next week. I mean, I believe there's a good, strong likelihood this feels right, but who the fuck knows?
Yeah, it does feel right, and I think there's been some time zone movement going on that might make it a little easier for everybody.
You know sports better than I do. Who's a good player that has on a new jersey every few months? And yet each time they have to give the press conference where they go, I'm really proud to be a part of this organization. I am here to stay.
I mean, LeBron James, he was with Cleveland, then Miami, back to Cleveland. Now he's with the Lakers, and
right.
He probably might move again. And he's worn several different numbers. So yeah, this is, I went into this episode blind. I don't know what you're talking about. I have a wonderful.
Sorry. I didn't send an email. I failed in that regard.
No, you didn't fail. I like the secrecy. I like the new time switching and the secrecy, Lee. I like the whole.
But you will like this one because you have said that my family is like the Forrest Gump of history.
Was this more like Josephus Camp? What did he do? He create bocce ball, or
Jebediah Camp was born in 1732, and
he was the inventor of the square wagon wheel or something? Like, what did he come up with?
The worst ever wheel was devised in 1772. Yeah. By Shebediah Cletus Camp.
Oh, I wish I had children just so I could name them that. Jebediah Cletus Camp.
So we've talked before on the show how, and most of these are kind of related to the same group of of oligarchs, because Robert E. Lee, the Lee family, was related to the Washington family through the Custis line, and
like
and
Custer or what's
Custis, I think Custis.
who
So
are they? Hold on, who are the Custis? Like what is this family?
Well, they changed it. It was so like Nellie Washington was George Washington's niece, and my family has her hand towel, because it was like these, nicely woven hand towels that were like worth $1 million or whatever, and so you'd sign them, and you'd like you didn't. It was a hand towel, wasn't just a hand towel for these people. So we have that framed in our house. It's like the only piece of like shit that's been passed down through my family. But because we eventually at some point became like the rednecks in Florida. So that's where my father came from. But earlier
you guys were blue bloods, and then you got rednecked.
We got pushed into the redneck of things.
We got pushed in to the redneck of things.
Well, shit got weird. So we put our square wheels on our house and we drove it down to Florida. Oh, so someone else knew it. Someone else knew it better than I did. The Custers? No, it wasn't a Custer. It was Custed. I don't know. Anyway, no, it's Custis. Anyway, okay. Pretty sure. But so my dad was, he's older. He's in his 80s, and he was doing this, looking through his lineage and shit, and he had apparently, although we were always told, about the being related to Washington and Lee, and the other one was John Marshall, the fourth Supreme Court Justice, Chief Justice. He had never mentioned or forgotten or something but when he was going through the lineage, he found that his, what was she? I think his aunt was actually part of because these families have official societies, and where you become a member if you can prove you're connected, and so she's connected to the Roger Williams lineage. So apparently we're also related to Roger Williams. Now, I had never heard of Roger Williams because I'm not actually that smart on history, but he founded Rhode Island, and I wouldn't have put this in the realm of government secrets, or even something, you and I have never done one on George Washington, because we'd have to find the secret side of that. It's like telling the history of George Washington is not what people need to learn. But when I read up on Roger Williams, there's actually some really fascinating things as to why he was hated by a lot of the colonies at the time. So that's why I thought this is worthy of the show to discuss Roger Williams. So he was an English-born New England Puritan minister, theologian, and author, and founded Providence Plantations, which became the colony of Rhode Island, and Providence Plantations later became state of Rhode Island. Now, as a separatist, Williams considered the Church of England irredeemably corrupt. And by the way, this is occasionally I'll do Wikipedia, because you and I like to prove that even the liberals have admitted this is the truth.
Yeah. It's always that caveat, and my segment's off of Wikipedia. Well, it's like, if they say this happened on Wikipedia, then you can only imagine,
right. The reality. Yeah. So as a separatist, Williams considered the Church of England irredeemably corrupt, and believed that one must separate and establish a new church to be actually a good Christian. And so I already like him. He called the existing powerful church irredeemably corrupt.
Back then, that's back in the 1700s or whatever. That good for him.
Yeah. In 1631, he moved to Plymouth Colony, where he was welcomed and assisted the minister. He then contacted with the Narragansett Indians, and getting to know them had caused him to question the validity of colonial charters that did not include legitimate purchase of Indian land. So you can imagine how well it went over with the white people in America to have a fairly high-level, powerful white person being like, wait a second, you guys didn't really purchase this land fairly.
This guy is a radical. In 1631, he's like, Church of England, corrupt. and we're stealing land in the New World. So
So Governor Bradford at the time later wrote that Williams fell, quote, into some strange opinions, which caused some controversy between the church and him. Some wild opinions about,
this guy thinks natives should own their own land. I mean, this guy's just out there this is heresy.
But yeah, this guy thinks we're supposed to give the savages something for their land.
They shouldn't have put their land, built their tents on our land. I just, what are they doing?
So Williams wrote a lengthy treatise that openly condemned the king's charters, which another unallowable offense, and questioned the right of Plymouth to the land, which without first buying it from the Native Americans. He even charged that King James had uttered a solemn lie in claiming that he was the first Christian monarch to have discovered the land. This is the type of shit that gets you like beheaded back then, I think.
Wow. I mean, they're still putting people away for this kind of stuff today, but back in 1631, this is bold what this dude is saying.
Yeah. And back then, if someone said something you disagree with, you could shoot them and it was fine. It was considered
I challenge you to a duel, sir.
Good idea. So the Massachusetts Bay authorities summoned him to appear before the General Court in Boston to defend his treatise attacking the king and the charter. The issue was smoothed out, though, and his writings disappeared forever, probably burned. And back then, burned was like having your hard drive wiped. Like you couldn't come back from, once a piece of paper was burned, it was over.
That was it. You couldn't write it again.
There was nobody had like a cell phone photo they took of the text.
Right.
In 1634, Williams became acting pastor of the Salem Church. In 1635, he was again ordered to appear before the General Court. He got surly again to answer for erroneous and, quote, dangerous opinions, unquote. Like Galileo had those kind of dangerous opinions, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. Like, again, throughout history, the powerful act the same way. Like, the way they're reacting to this guy is what they did to Julian Assange and are doing to Julian Assange. They're just using modern techniques, but it's the same. Like, whoa.
And I'd like to say me losing my YouTube channel is pretty much the same. I am equally oppressed to Assange or many people who were hanged for having dangerous opinions. I'm right up there. I lost my YouTube page, so I'm right up there.
Yeah, you get yours pulled, mine demonetized. Basically the same. It's basically like we've been drawn and quartered in the gallows.
Right. So the court finally ordered that he be removed from his church position. The General Court then refused to seat the delegates from Salem at the next session because of Williams' association. Support for Williams began to wane under this pressure, and he withdrew from the court and began meeting with a few of his devoted followers in his home, which ultimately will be my YouTube channel as well. It'll be just a few followers in my living room.
That's, I think, what they're trying to do to mine is just turn it into like just a haunted cave of 5 people.
Right.
Shave your knuckles for justice.
Right. Finally, in 1635, the General Court tried Williams and convicted him of sedition and heresy. They declared that he was spreading diverse, new and dangerous opinions. I love the word new. He came up with new opinions.
It's new. It's new. How dare you be new?
They ordered that he be banished. And that was the thing. Banishment was a thing back then because you could literally send someone off into the woods and they would just like fail to survive. They would just die out there. Whereas now, you just go to the next town.
Yeah. Like they'll have a Walmart at the next city. I'll be able to get some supplies. Right. I'll be fine.
So he traveled 55 miles in a blizzard in deep snow to Raynham, Massachusetts, where the local Wampanoags offered him shelter. Later, Williams and a number of others from Salem began a new settlement on the land, which they had bought from the Massasoits in what is now Rumford, Rhode Island. After settling, however, authorities of the Plymouth colony asserted that Williams and his followers were within their land grant. So basically, they bought it kind of officially from the Native Americans, but then the other white guys were like, hey, we stole this from the Native Americans. You can't buy it from them.
You can't go around doing stuff above board after we've just taken it. Like, what's going on?
Right. Williams then acquired some new land from the chiefs in Canaan of the Kananakas and Miantanomi. I'm mispronouncing half of these, I know. Here, Williams and his followers, and I apologize, established a new permanent settlement under the belief that divine providence had brought them there. The settlers named the settlement Providence. Williams wanted his settlement to be a haven, and this is where it gets really good. Where he really starts to be like, I was like, wait, what? This guy's actually a good dude. Williams wanted his settlement to be a haven for, quote, those distressed of conscience, and it soon attracted a collection of dissenters and otherwise minded individuals. From the beginning, a majority vote of the heads of households governed the new settlement, but only in civil things. Newcomers could also be admitted to full citizenship by a majority vote. Thus, Williams founded the first place in modern history where citizenship and religion were separate, providing religious liberty and separation of church and state. This was combined with the principle of majoritarian democracy. So,
wow,
it's the first known group of people putting into play separation of church and state.
In the 1630s.
Yeah.
Wow, that again, one of these things that why is this not taught to us? Why is this guy, why isn't there a whole month of reading about this dude in your history class in high school? Or
right. And so I maybe Rhode Island, you know, if you're a kid in Rhode Island and you went to history class, maybe he is taught effectively and
sure.
And in a large way there. But outside of Rhode Island, I don't think you get any of this shit.
No. I mean, and that's maybe in Rhode Island. Maybe this, like, probably there's a plaque of this guy at some sort of like truck stop in Providence by an Arby's or whatever. Like, that's.
Hey, at least they gave him the Arby's. All right.
Yeah. I mean,
that's something.
You know, we got that dip sandwich. It's, you know.
It's isn't there a Woodrow? There's like a Woodrow Wilson truck stop along 95 where I was like, that's the real honors to like have a few shitters named after you. You know?
I remember I was on the East Coast and there was some like revolutionary battle that was fought. And now it's the whatever
Narragansett, the Gettysburg rest stop or something.
Yeah, it was literally some like there's this plaque and there's this big significant battle, and I was like, oh, now you can get a Whopper and you can get you know, a slushie. Like, wow, and these guys were fighting the freedom for this country. Did they think one day
they're gonna name a slushie out of me? The ones dying on that day on that battlefield were like, don't worry. They'll name a slushie after this. Like,
you will not die in vain, sir. There will be a Whopper sold on this land in your name.
One day, someone will take a runny dub under a plaque to my name.
A trucker on speed will come through here and refill his 64 ounces of soda in your honor, sir.
Williams developed deep trust among the Native American tribes, especially the Narragansetts.
Take him out. He's unifying.
I think honestly, I think one of the things that saved him was the fact that he had he left where most of the other people were. So he like created his own area And then they were like, hanging him will be such a effort. We'll have to go down there. 55 miles in the snow. So he was able to keep the peace between Native Americans and the colony of Rhode Island for nearly 40 years. He twice surrendered himself as a hostage to the Native Americans to guarantee the safe return of a Native chief from a summons to a court. Williams was trusted by the Native Americans more than any other colonist, at least those groups of Native Americans in that area, I guess. The other New England colonies began to fear and mistrust the Narragansetts and soon came to regard the Rhode Island colony as a common enemy. So basically, you're allied with the natives. Go fuck yourself. In the next 3 decades, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Plymouth exerted pressure to destroy both Rhode Island and the Narragansetts. In 1643, the neighboring colonies formed a military alliance called the United Colonies, which pointedly excluded the towns around Narragansett Bay. In response, Williams traveled to England to secure a charter for the colony. So he's like, we'll see what the king says about this. So this is when his book comes into play. He published his first book, A Key into the Languages of America, the Language of America, which proved crucial to the success of his charter because the book was a success. It was published in 1643. The book combined a phrase book with observations about life and culture as an aid to communicate with Native Americans of New England. So even this was edgy and woke to be like, hey, here's how to understand Native Americans. Here's who they are. Here's what their language is. In its scope, the book covered everything from salutations to death and burial. Williams also sought to correct the attitudes of superiority displayed by the colonists towards Native Americans. Here's a quote. Boast not proud, English, of thy birth and blood. Thy brother Indian is by birth as good. Of one blood God made him, and thee and all, as wise, as fair, as strong, as personal. Yeah, I imagine that did not go over great with a lot of people.
Wow. No wonder they we got to form an alliance against this guy. He's saying all men are created equal. Better.
Right. And he's calling them actual humans. Yeah.
Wow. Nope. Can't do that. This is right on par with everything we've ever covered. Either nationalizing resources or unifying people. Anytime somebody's like, let's all get together. Take them out.
But so this didn't go into the details of what exactly the discussions were with the king and the king's court or whatever. But because the book was so popular, and maybe, that little quote about, hey, English, don't be so proud. They're the same as us. Maybe it was a small quote so people could pretend, oh, it's so exotic to learn their language and kind of ignore the English. You shouldn't be so fucking proud. But whatever it was, the king gave him the charter. However, and I love this too. So he flees town. He gets his charter, heads out on his boat. He's in the middle of the ocean when his second book comes out in England, or at least in London. And it becomes the most famous of his books. It's called The Bloody Tenet of Persecution of Cause of Conscience. The publication produced a great uproar. I imagine it also said things like separation of church and state, because it's the same, and, allowing dissenters to have their place and things like that. But between 1644 and 1649, at least 60 pamphlets were published addressing the work's arguments. I assume that means trying to refute the work's arguments. Parliament responded to Williams on 1644 by ordering the public hangman to burn all the copies, which I also love that poor guy, hey, here are your jobs. You gotta cut people's heads off. And also, if we don't like a book, you gotta round them all up. And
do you think he was like, look, guys, I got one job here. I kill people. I take their heads off.
We're cutting off 3 heads a day. That's already working my tricep area. I can't be collecting books just all over town.
I mean, what do you want me to do? You want me to burn books, or you want to put nooses around guys' necks? You tell me. I'll do one of them. I can't do both. All right, I can't be two places.
Can I at least get an intern? At least an intern.
Either you guys stop committing people to die, or I get an intern. I don't know what else to do. You tell me.
I got it. You guys don't really appreciate the extra work I do, like sharpening the blades, cleaning off that piece of wood that we chop the heads on. It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Where do you think these heads go? They don't just magically disappear, guys. So, you know,
I gotta take them down to the deli on 6th that'll actually grind heads into the meat patties. They won't. Not everyone does that. Not everyone Sweeney Todd's the meat patties. All right.
Not everyone goes down to Cannibal Jim's delicatessen and carves up the heads.
Sorry, I said down to Stan's Deli on 6th. I should have said Stan's Deli on Dagenham Shopsworth Biggles or something. some British road name.
Dagglesome Shopsworth. Dagglesome Shopsworth. What the fuck?
You forgot Biggles. I think it's kind of.
I'm sorry. I get the two streets confused all the time. Every time I'm in that part of town, I get lost.
All right. So they had them all burned. By this time, however, Williams was already en route to England. And that was the thing, is you could get something said in England and it wouldn't get back to the States for fucking a decade. So they're burning effigies of Williams in London. Meanwhile, he's in the colonies going, I have a charter from the king. They love me over there. So after years, though, he gets the 4 villages finally united in 1647 under the colony of Rhode Island and the Providence Plantation. Freedom of conscience was again proclaimed, and the colony became a safe haven for people who were persecuted for their beliefs, including Baptists, Quakers, and Jews. Williams was later elected the colony's president. So they didn't say this, but it seems to me this may have been one of the first safe havens for Jews in the United States. I mean, it wasn't the United States then, but safe havens for a safe haven for Jews in America.
Oh, this guy, oh man, it sounds like he was just crazy actually doing the teachings of Jesus, everybody getting along. And it's like, better lock this guy up.
So there's just one last little part on slavery. He didn't write extensively about slavery, but he consistently expressed disapproval of perpetual chattel slavery, though generally did not object to the enslavement of captured enemy combatants for a fixed duration. He raised his concerns about slavery in letters to the Massachusetts Bay Governor, John Winthrop, concerning the treatment of the Pequots. Is that how it's pronounced? During the Pequot War. In these letters, he requested Winthrop to prevent the enslavement of women and children, as well as direct the colonial militia to spare them during the fighting. In 1641, Massachusetts Bay Colony passed laws sanctioning slavery. In response, under Williams' leadership, the Providence Plantations passed a law in 1652 restricting the amount of time for which an individual could be held in slavery and tried to prevent the importation of enslaved Africans. The law established terms for slavery that mirrored that of indentured servitude. Enslavement was to be limited in duration and not passed down from adults to children. And so this is another government secret, goes along with the theme here, which is that people love to this day say, oh, well, slavery was just the norm throughout the 1700s and a lot of the 1800s. And that's just, you got to judge them by the norms of the day. And it's like, there were a lot of people raising complaints of slavery and abolitionists. Like, they existed. There were a lot of them. So it wasn't just, I mean, yes, there was a lot of slavery going on. There was also a lot of not slavery going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of people going, A, I don't own slaves, and B, I think it's wrong. And I'm going to be public about why I think it's wrong. And this, like, yeah, people have been against this for a long time.
Yeah. So It kind of undermines another common argument about our founding fathers and everything. So that is a large portion of the history of Roger Williams.
Roger Williams, the crazy priest.
Because the U.S. defines crazy as not wanting slaves or to steal land from natives.
Yeah, everybody gets along, and treating Native Americans as humans and not wanting slaves makes you a nutburger in the United States. All right, so I was having a wonderful day just looking up CIA involvement with places. So I just saw this CIA activities in Japan, and this obviously started during, well, it wasn't called the CIA then. Obviously, it was during World War II when it was the OSS that we've talked about. And then as we've discussed, the National Security Act in 1947, part of that created the CIA and the intelligence apparatus as we know it. The early formations of the apparatus as we know it today was created in 1947. So the CIA was also instrumental in laying the groundwork for the formation of the present Japanese political system. The agency was financially involved in the creation of the Liberal Party by abetting the requisitioning of assets seized from China. The agency also participated in an influence campaign in order to sway the Liberal successor, the Liberal Democratic Party, towards accepting Nobusuke Kishi as prime minister. The CIA was active in advising
And when they say influence campaign, it's kind of like the mafia would have an influence campaign against a shop owner who wasn't paying them.
Yeah, it'd be a real shame if the shop got burned to the ground. You know what I mean? Without this protection,
that kind of influence campaign.
Exactly. Like, I'd hate to see you fall down a flight of stairs because you were late on a payment. You know what I mean? Guys' kneecaps go bad.
You don't have to do what we're saying. I'm just saying, I really liked this photo of your daughter I took today. Well, you didn't know I was there outside the playground.
That's all. That's all we're saying.
I'm just saying you got a beautiful daughter. What's so weird about that?
What's so weird about that? You know, a lot of guys that think she's beautiful. So that's the CIA, yes, just being very nice. And it's part of the creation of the LDP, the Liberal Democratic Party, also involved the agency establishing what has come to be described as the Iron Triangle, dealing in the trade of tungsten, the purpose of covertly financing the LDP. In addition to supporting the LDP financially, multiple authors have alleged that the CIA actively subverted and interfered with the, take a guess, Lee, Japanese blank party.
The fascist party. They hate fascists, right?
No, actually, they work with a lot of them.
They don't hate fascists.
Starts with an S.
Socialist?
Yes. How did you know?
In fact, they were busy high-fiving the fascist party.
Yeah, of course, they were probably funding them and getting them into this LDP party. And of course, they were going against anti-American protests in Okinawa. So that's the overall part of the involvement in Japan. Now, there's a very specific event I want to get into. Prior to the signing of the Treaty of San Francisco, CIA operatives arrived in Japan as part of Project Bluebird to test behavioral techniques on suspected double agents. Oh, good. U.S. intelligence helped allegedly establish and administer several clandestine funds collectively known as the M Fund. The M Fund was allegedly used to enrich CIA contact Yoshiro Kodama, who ostensibly used the fund to bankroll the Yakuza. During this was during his 1960 Eisenhower's visit to Japan.
And I'm not familiar with these things. The Yakuza is a group of birthday party clowns, correct? That perform for children.
Kind of. They're kind of like birthday party clowns who, cut off their pinkies when they make a mistake, and Yes, they're birthday clowns, just like the Italian mafia is birthday clowns.
Okay. And the Yakuza are why you sleep with nunchucks under your pillow.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
So we were, of course, like always, we've talked about this before. We've been in bed with mobsters, Nazis, fascists.
It's a big bed.
Yeah, it is.
We keep a big bed.
Also, we the CIA sort of helped the Japanese after we took over when they lost the war. The Japanese had evidence of the Japanese did a lot of human rights abuses and torturing, almost as bad, in some cases worse than the Nazis. But the Japanese got rid of a lot of it, and the CIA kind of helped go, yeah, we didn't see anything either. The Japanese Navy ordered the destruction of wartime documents following the Hirohito surrender broadcast. The Japanese Foreign Ministry similar ordered the destruction of all papers on August 7th. War crimes investigators required translators and interpreters to translate Japanese documents and question Japanese suspects in their involvement in the Pacific War. This resulted in widespread utilization of the Nisi linguists in translation duties pertaining to war crimes. The military intelligence service and counterintelligence corps using Nisi translators were able to translate significant portion of the remaining documents. Much of this would be later used in the tribunal. So we didn't help them get rid of their war crimes, but we sort of didn't really crack down as hard as we did with the Germans. But
well, for some of the German Nazis, we gave them jobs here in our sciences.
Yes.
we brought some of them over for little bit of help, but
yes, that was Operation Paperclip, and of course we talked about Operation Bloodstone, where we employed Nazis in communist countries in Europe.
And Paperclip employing them here.
Yes. Yeah. So those two operations, Paperclip and Bloodstone, were how America directly worked with Nazis after World War II. So, of course, they were scared about communists, and they didn't want any communists getting involved with Japan at all. America very much clamped down on the rebuilding of it. And during the reoccupation period, but we also employed part of Project Bluebird, which was a division of Project Artichoke, which we have covered, which was involved testing human subjects and drugs meant to induce hypnosis for the purpose of enhanced interrogation. At the start of Project Bluebird, a team traveled to Japan in July 1950 to test out the techniques on human subjects. The subjects were used.
Enhanced interrogation, that term means like you get popcorn during it,
and an upgrade to your soda. So you get like a
soda upgrade.
Yeah. So you order the small, you get a large, and then you get the popcorn.
It's an enhanced experience.
Yeah. It's like those really cool theaters where like the seats move during an action movie. Right. So it's kind of like that with a soda and a popcorn. Only you're terrified and you deprived of sleep, and they make you think you're going to die. So the subjects used were suspected double agents. During the operation, the security office of the agency ordered the operatives to conceal and not disclose the reason for their residence and employment in Japan, using a cover explaining they were part of a polygraph work. In October of 1950, the program expanded to include North Korean prisoners of war, with 25 subjects being selected and chosen for the role. The safe house used to perform the operation was located in Atsugi, Kanagawa. The experiments were intended to induce amnesia by the injection of drugs such as sodium amytal and other barbiturates. The team judged the experiments in 1950 as a success, causing the agency to expand and continue the program across Europe and Southeast Asia. Yay!
Dude, if they were torturing me to try and see if they could create amnesia. Like in the first 3 minutes, I'd be like, I've forgotten everything. Who are you? Where
Right.
am I? I don't just like let me out of here. I don't know anything. Like
I know. And I would just start wandering away. Like, I don't know what's going on. I've got all this amnesia in my belly. I don't know what's
what
going on.
who am I? I have no idea. No,
So
you don't have to stick that thing up my ass. I don't know who you are. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need battery cables attached to my nuts. I can just walk out of here probably, right? Then this is the Kaiji Wataru incident, which Kaiji was a left-wing novelist, and he was abducted. He worked as a re-educator concerning Japanese prisoners of war in Chongqing due to his persecution under Showa statism. Kaiji alleged that he was abducted by U.S. military intelligence officers. This is Wikipedia going, allegedly, we don't know. Yeah,
Right.
this is, let's just own it. He was abducted by U.S. military officers in the Kanagawa neighborhood of Kuganuma and then confined in a facility in Yokohama on the night of November 25th, 1951. He was then extensively interrogated, accused of being a spy for the Soviet Union, and was pressured to become a double agent for U.S. intelligence. Kaiji was physically tortured and interrogated over the next few days. After Kaiji was repeatedly physically abused by the Cannon Agency, which is, again, under the auspices of the CIA, he attempted suicide by drinking a bottle of household cleaner. Before his suicide attempt, he wrote a testament to his friend Uchiyama Kanzo, a bookstore owner in Shanghai. At the time, Kaiji was suffering from chronic tuberculosis and was given medical treatment to assist in his recovery from the suicide attempt. Kaiji was then moved to a second safe house in the Shibuya ward, where he was moved to Chigagasi and then Okinawa. In September 52, a letter was mailed to various Tokyo area news agencies suggesting that Kaiji was being held against his will by U.S. intelligence agencies. Sorry. Uchiyama visited leftist Diet member Kozo Inomata, giving him information on Kazi's disappearance. Yamada Zenjiro also made a public statement, with Inomata subsequently bringing up the allegations with the police. Due to the public pressure, U.S. authorities released Kaiji and drove him to a railway station to his home in Tokyo. So they just sort of like...
And all of that, kidnapping and torture and everything, that was just for a novelist. Like,
yes,
imagine if you were an actual, like, armed revolutionary.
Yeah. Well, like a legit subversive who was like trying to blow something up or whatever. This is a left-wing journalist that they like might be a red. So they did this to him. So they just left him at a railway station near his home in Tokyo. Due to the weight of the allegations, a government inquiry was started into the circumstances of his disappearance. Kaiji testified before a special committee of the National Diet. In the allegations that Kaiji had been held against his will for more than a year by a foreign power were true, it would have constituted a violation of Japan's national sovereignty. And then the U.S. Embassy admitted they were wrong and said, we're sorry. Oh, whoops, I read that wrong. The U.S. Embassy subsequently countered the allegations, arguing that Kaiji admitted he was a Soviet intelligence asset and that Kaiji had willingly taken refuge with U.S. authorities.
Yeah. It's kind of like when the U.S. kidnapped Jean-Bertrand Aristide in Haiti and dropped him in Africa, and they were like, we were doing it to protect him, and we put him on a plane because he wanted to go to Africa.
Yes. Julian Assange is in Belmarsh prison because he's afraid China's going to grab him. So we're just keeping him safe. That's what's going on. It's just the level of It's unreal. Hang Tupong, a coordinator and member of the agency, stated in an interview with Shukan Shinichiro that Kaiji had been bribed by the Japanese Communist Party and that Kaiji voluntarily became a U.S. intelligence asset. Tupong also said that Kaiji had been given treatment for his tuberculosis, an allegation confirmed by Kaiji. However, Kaiji stated that he had never heard of an Agent Tupong in response to this interview. So that's we did all that stuff and then abducted a left-wing writer and then lied about it. There was too much public pressure because the Japanese people were like, nope, we ain't having it. And then we just released him at a train station and said he came to us because he was tired of being a communist.
He said he wanted us to lock him in a room with no way to communicate. Is what it was weird. We thought it was weird, and I was like, dude, this is kind of creepy that he wants to be locked up. But maybe he's into like a fetish thing or something.
It was weird. We were like, do you want a glass of water? And he said, no, I want to be waterboarded. And we were like, okay. I thought it's a weird thing to do if you're thirsty, but
what choice do we have?
We didn't want to, and they held him for a year. It's not even like they could say, well, it was a couple of weeks and a mix up communicate. They held the guy for a year, moved him around to all those different cities. And then that was their fumbling backpedal on, on what happened.
Nice.
So there's even more. There's like so much more. There's so much more that we did in Japan. Here's actually, all right, I'll go into this. The role of the cover-up of Unit 731. So this is during the International Military Tribunal of the Far East. U.S. occupation authorities deliberately omitted witnesses to obfuscate evidence in relation to the conviction of several Japanese right-wing officials. This process of covering up crimes against humanity committed by Japanese officials extended to Japanese biological warfare programs in Manchukuo. In 1946 and 1947, the State Department and U.S. military intelligence officials began a pressure campaign to convince Shiro Ishii, director of Unit 31, to take a deal with the U.S. in regard to the transfer of information researching during Unit 731's activities in the region. This called Ishii to take a deal where, to avoid prosecution, he would give U.S. intelligence officials information on human experimentation procured during his time as a director. So I just want to clarify this for the audience. We found out that the Japanese were doing these awful things, and we kind of covered it up during the post-war tribunal so that we could actually get some of the information that would be, so we could learn from their techniques on how to torture people. And also, hey, we're going to let it slide because we're afraid of communists. Similarly, how we let a lot of the Nazis slide and move into this country for Operation Paperclip, like we talked about. We did a similar little version in Japan because, they're so close to communist China, we can't let the commies get them. So we're going to let a couple of evil Japanese war criminals slide.
Right. And similar with Operation Gladio, which was NATO and CIA, funding and arming far right wing, some cases Nazis in various countries across Europe after World War II to, in case some lefties were to get into power, there might be a stack of guns under some bleachers somewhere that we might have sitting there for you.
And here we are. So we talked about they covered up Unit 731 in Japan, Operation Gladio, Operation Paperclip, Operation Bloodstone. And now here we are still funding neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And we're totally okay with any right-wing fascism on any level as long as they're anti-communist, anti-Russia, anti-China. As long as they're that, you can do whatever you want. It's
right.
It's the same playbook, man. It's the same playbook everywhere we go. So this The CIA's fun involvement in Japan. Government secrets. Bang, bang. Episode 115.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. What you got going on, Lee Camp?
I'm doing lots of things, trying to sort out this move over the next month or so, and but yeah, still doing my live streams and everything, and that's all at leecamp.net. And what else can I tell you? Most Censored News, that's at youtube.com/behind the headlines. And of course, we have our wonderful stuff. So
yes, we do. We've got, I believe we're not able to do it today, correct? But
yeah.
folks, you can sign up right now. We're not doing one today, but there are a bunch of bonus segments at patreon.com/government secrets. You see it scrolling below, or if you're just listening, you can sign up to Patreon. And for as little as $5, you can watch all of these.
I don't know. I've been involved with a lot of Patreons. I don't know Patreon pages and things. I don't know one where you sign up and you instantly get 27 free segments. It's pretty, not that I'm biased. I'm just saying it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you get a bunch of bonus content for $5 a month. I mean, it's as little as you want. And there's more expensive tiers where you can get a mug and a t-shirt and stuff like that, because we don't sell merch anywhere else. So check that out. Also, my new special, Manifest It, just came out. It's been out last week.
Oh shit, it's out. Congrats.
Thank you. It is in the chat, and I will put this. That's not going to help you, but you can link on that. But it's at All Things Comedy's YouTube channel. So just go or look up Graham Elwood Manifest It on YouTube. You'll see the special. It's exclusively on their YouTube channel, All Things Comedy, which is owned by Al Madrigal and Bill Burr. It's a cool.
And this is Manifest It, not Manifested.
Yes, I'm sorry. Manifest It. Just Manifest It. So check that out. Give it a view. Give it a like. Give it a share it on your social media.
And Manifest It is your manifesto. Is that correct?
It is my manifesto. It absolutely is my manifesto. And I've got tour dates too. April 27th, I'm in Maui. April 28th on the Big Island in Kona. April 29th on Oahu. And then May 11th in Phoenix. May 12th in Tucson. More tour dates over the summer will be added. Probably also some live government secrets. We're going to figure that out at some point.
Who knows what might happen?
You don't know. So go to grahamelwood.com for all of that, everybody.
Cool, man. I will see you next week.
All right. This has been Government Secrets, episode 115. Lee's crazy family and the CIA's fun party in Japan.
Later, man.
All right, buddy. Thanks for watching, everybody. Very much appreciated it. And like, share, and subscribe. All of that. All of those analytical stuff helps. It's great to be back. I will be live streaming tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time with Ron Placone. We're going to talk about this kind of big setback with net neutrality and other things that are in the news tomorrow, Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern. Tomorrow, Friday with Ron Placone. So please hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on Lee's channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're watching on my channel, please subscribe to Lee's YouTube channel. Moment of clarity. That'll be very much appreciated. Thank you, Graham and Lee. Thank you, Holly and Blaze Saver Wolf. Please clean the mic. I think you pasted it. I don't know what that means. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you for watching on Lee's channel and my channel. And thank you for watching, those of you watching on the Rockfin, which is free to sign up. Go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. And please support our show by going to patreon.com/government secrets. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. We're doing Political Vigilante Live Friday, March 10th, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern with Ron Placone. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.